Welcome back. This time we are looking at the issue of abortion. So hopefully you may have seen the video on the sanctity of life already. An abortion is when a fetus is expelled from the mother's uterus before the pregnancy reaches its full term, which is usually about 40 weeks. Sometimes this happens naturally, it's what we call a miscarriage, or sometimes call it a spontaneous abortion. However, when we refer to abortion, normally we are meaning a procured abortion, where the fetus is removed deliberately. Most Christians believe that these procured abortions are wrong, but as we'll find out, some permit it in certain circumstances. We'll start off by talking about the Roman Catholic Church. Roman Catholics believe that life begins from the moment of conception, on that very first day of pregnancy. Some other Christians believe the fetus can't really be described as a person until later on in the pregnancy, when it becomes more recognisably human. Others believe that it becomes a person when it's capable of surviving on its own, which is probably about the stage of 22 weeks. Roman Catholics believe that the killing of an unborn baby is morally wrong in all circumstances. However, if abortion is needed to save the mother's life, such as in the case of an ectopic pregnancy, I'll explain that later, they would accept the doctrine of double effect. That is to say, if they were doing something morally good, but it also has a morally bad side, it's still right to do it, providing the bad side effect was not intended, even though it may have been known. The Church of England also recognises abortion, also opposes abortion, but recognises that there can be certain conditions where abortion would be morally acceptable, such as if the child would experience a low quality of life due to severe medical disabilities, or if the woman was raped. The Methodist Church, another Protestant church, says the abortion is always an evil, but recognises there are cases where abortion might be the lesser of two evils, say if a child was born with incurable diseases. Some Christians generally are more willing to accept earlier abortions than those which take place later on in a pregnancy. Some key words for you now: abortion, the deliberate expulsion of the fetus from the uterus, sometimes called procured or direct abortion, the doctrine of double effect that I've just mentioned. If doing something morally good has a morally bad side effect, it's still right to do so providing the bad side effect was not intended. An ectopic pregnancy, where the fetus starts to grow in a fallopian tube rather than a womb, that can be damaging. And a miscarriage, when a baby is aborted through natural causes. It's sometimes called a spontaneous abortion. Remember, many of the Christian churches have what we call a relative morality in their approach to abortion. They adapt the rules to different situations, but would see abortion as a last resort. The most common secular, as in non-religious view, is that the woman should have a right to choose an abortion for herself if she wishes after counselling, as she indeed has a right over her own body. A secular approach would also usually consider that a fetus is not really a person until some time later in its development, as I mentioned right at the start, maybe about 22 weeks. However, some people hold different views as to when a fetus becomes a person, such as conception, or when brain activity starts, or when the fetus becomes recognisable in the womb, when it moves, or perhaps when it is viable to be born. Some key texts there. Don't forget the Ten Commandments: do not murder. Many see abortion as murder, as it's ending a life, because obviously life started at conception. A lot of people refer to Psalm 139, where David, I think, writes about how God knitted him together in his mother's womb. So God's there at the very heart of creation of each individual child. And some refer back to a passage in Luke chapter 1, where Elizabeth, Mary's cousin, I think, goes to meet the pregnant Mary, and the baby in Elizabeth's womb moves and is filled with the Holy Spirit, which is kind of showing the sanctity of life, because the child has indeed the Holy Spirit in it. Right, hopefully that was useful. Tune in next time.